Alright, here we go. So, my game of choice for this Let's Play was Dragon Ball Xenoverse. Uh, but I'm not doing this alone. I brought in a friend of mine.
Hi, my name is Brent Satterwhite. I will be joining you all for the Let's Play session.
Alright, so let's jump right into it. This is Dragon Ball Xenoverse. It's a traditional fighter. It's the latest game in the series. Can't even think of how many games it is. But this follows Budokai Tenkaichi 3, which means that this is a 3D fighter. It's free roam, majority destructible environment. But this one allows multiple players on the map, so it's a bit different than the last one. There are up to 8 players at a time, 5 on your team, 3 on the other, but we're not going to focus on that right now because this is the local 2-player mode. Alright, so the controls, which you can kind of see as we're going through the menu here. The controls are, I would say, a lot simpler than they were in the last few games, especially considering all the pain you had to go through to use, a super move or even a regular move for that matter. Just be a matter of tapping your back buttons, be you on either of the next gen consoles, or I'd imagine they'd be relatively similar to the last ones as well, or for the last generation of consoles too. So that makes your controls a lot easier. You don't have to do everything as a combination to use the moves. You can just outright use them to move forward on with the battle. One addition that I really liked to this game was the addition of a stamina bar, which is the green bar below the yellow bar that you see on each of the characters. The stamina bar allows for, or I guess it doesn't allow for your ki to get taken away so easily, because you can focus on different areas of fighting. So when you're moving around in the super speed like you see here, or you teleport behind an enemy, or if your guard gets broken, your stamina goes down instead of your ki. That allows for a lot more control over your fighting, which I thought was really intuitive, and it kind of changed the game in my opinion. So we can ask Brent, who is a relatively new player of this game, what I guess he thinks about it in comparison to the old games.
Yeah, the main game I played in the series was Budokai 3. I really enjoyed Budokai 3, but I thought this was also kind of a good game to go off of. For this Xenoverse, I really like the fluidness of all the controls, the movement, the speed. It's a very fast-paced game. And I also liked how they kind of simplified the...
This would be a good time to test the power of my perfect form.
Special moves, as opposed to Budokai, where you constantly had to go back to the manual to figure out what you wanted to do.
True.
One thing I did not like, or I'm still getting used to for this game, the accuracy of some of the attacks for some of the so with the fast pace, a lot of the times I will feel like I'm in range to attack somebody, but I will find out that I'm not.
A deadly one for sure, yeah. But a lot of that just kind of plays off of the mode that we're in right now, this local 2-player mode, which is a bit different because the game is really online focused. So one thing I do appreciate is that they didn't do the co-op screens at top and bottom, because with a game as fast as this, that would have been really confusing. Probably would have made your head spin as you were playing, but it is a bit difficult for local 2-player, which we will talk about again later. Some of what we felt was shortcomings in that area of the game. So we've been Brent. What you see here is local 2-player, as we've mentioned a couple times. This is me versus Brent. I'm player 1, Brent's player 2, and we're using Brent's made-up character Freaks, which was just a character of his prerogative that he made. But you've seen the character menu twice. Something that I thought was, I guess, a bit disappointing in comparison to the last game, as Cell destroys Freaks with a Super Kamehameha wave, was the lack of character depth. Something that I'm gonna continue to point out during this Let's Play session is just how important the little things are to me. Like, for instance, in Tenkaichi 3, you had access to, basically every character that ever popped up in the game. From Goku to Vegeta to Pan to GT Kid Goku, all the way back to Dragon Ball, where you had Dragon Ball Goku, who had his little extendo pole, and you could fight with Master Roshi and Jackie Chun, and even a couple characters who you only saw for 2 or 3 episodes. I just thought that was really good. There was a lot of variety. There are rumors, unconfirmed rumors I should say, of a Xenoverse 2 already in discussion, and I feel like they will address that area there, because a couple of the videos I saw online talked about that, but there's no telling. They got all the main characters, obviously, which is important, and this being such an online focused game, there's always the DLC aspect. You can pay that $10, or you can go ahead and get a season pass, and you have access to everything they come out with. But now that I think about it, one of the things with the lack of character depth, I feel like that was addressed with the ability to customize your own character so much. You can dress them in the majority of the clothes that are available to that regular characters in the game had, and you can dress them in custom clothes that the game has for the characters that were created. So I guess that's petty, but again, like I said, it's the little things that matter. So here we are in the local multiplayer, which is I guess a bit disappointing, but again, this is such an online focused game that I would imagine they just didn't pay a lot of attention to this. So in the local 2-player, this is it. You've got player 1 and player 2 in this arena right here, the World Tournament stage, which would be familiar to a lot of the Dragon Ball Z fans out there. This is all you get. You're not allowed to go to the other stages. It's just you and whoever is in the room playing with you with another controller, which I thought was a disservice to the game, because there were a lot of cool maps. The sky was a map, just the big open sky. You've got the pod landing, you've got the glaciers, you've got space. But for whatever reason, well, I guess it's World Tournament, you and the person you're playing against. I guess the stage idea was cool, but this is all you have.
Yeah, I remember even in Budokai 3 with some of the maps, the different stages that have different effects on the characters. So during one of the maps that kind of aligned with the story mode, you could play inside the character's which combined with acid. So during the game, your health would slowly go down, so it was a matter of kind of who could beat the other quicker.
Yeah, so I guess that's again, not a huge issue in air quotes, but as I've said, what is it, 4 times now? It's the little things that count. But it is an online focused game, so I would imagine that's got a lot to do with it. Alright, so what you see here is the parallel quest menu, which is kind of like a side arc, I guess, of the storyline, and it kind of plays into, I guess, everything that's happening within the story, which I thought was really cool, because the story mode doesn't end within the story mode. You've got plenty of things that can count in for what's happening outside. So I guess first I'll explain the premise of the story and how the parallel quests fit into it. So in Xenoverse, the way the game starts off is you're shown this clip of Trunks making a wish to Shenron, the guardian of the Earth and the Dragon Balls and whatnot, and he's asking for help he's asking for Shenron to bring him a fighter who can help him solve what's happening with these time rifts, because somebody's going back in time and changing events that have already taken place. And the whole butterfly effect, you change something in the past and it can drastically change the future. And Trunks needed somebody to help him go back and not only defeat the people who are causing these issues, but keep the issues, or I guess, solve the issues themselves. So I guess to the credit of the creators here, I thought it was really smart that they used Trunks to do this, because throughout the Dragon Ball series, Trunks was the person who was time traveling more than anybody else, if anybody else even did it at all. Did anybody else time travel, Brent?
Not that I remember in the series.
Yeah, so I can't. So again, that was just a great idea that they used Trunks of all characters to do that. So anyway, back to the parallel quests and how they fit. The parallel quests are basically where you go to solve the little things that went wrong in the story. Because when you go back in time in the story mode, you go back and you solve, I guess, the bigger issues. Like, for instance, this parallel quest, Legendary Super Saiyan, is where we go back and we fight the Z Fighters because the people who disrupted the time continuum brought Goku back out of his little recovery phase too early, because he wasn't supposed to meet Frieza at this point in time. So we're going back and fighting them to, I guess, right the wrongs of the space-time continuum, which, I guess anybody who's seen, any sci-fi stuff, it gets really complicated when you're explaining things like this. So in the parallel quest, I guess when you're doing a parallel quest, as you saw a little earlier, you're allowed to use 3 characters, only the first of which is playable by you, and you get 2 NPCs, or computer characters. So the first character is the only one you can use your custom character with, which is what most people do who play the game. They use their custom character because it's yours. I guess you create a bond through the story with this character. And my character is a Saiyan named Kronos. When you create your character, you're allowed one of 5 races. A Saiyan, a human, a Namekian, a Majin, or something of the Frieza race. And the human, Saiyan, and Majin are all allowed male or female gendered characters. But I'll talk about the custom piece of the game a little later. So something that you've seen me do up to this point is Kronos has gone Super Saiyan multiple times within this match, and I've used his super move, the Super Kamehameha Wave, because of affordances with the Super Saiyan form. But I'll talk about that a little later. So with the within the parallel quests, you go to the little piece, or excuse me, the place in Toki Toki City, which is where you're located. And you talk to the machine, and you go into the world. And when you go to choose a parallel quest, you're given 1 win condition and 3 lose conditions. But the way the parallel quests work is you can unlock more win conditions based upon how you win the game. So here, the only win condition I was given was to defeat Goku. And given that I know how the story happened, I've got a bit more insight on what takes place. So in the story mode, if you kill Krillin, when Krillin got killed, that's when Goku went Super Saiyan. So I killed Krillin first, which allowed me to fight Super Saiyan Goku, which will fight and defeat Super Saiyan Goku, because Kronos is probably the strongest Saiyan of all time. That allowed me to get to the ultimate finish here. And that allowed me to get more money and more experience for my character. Alright, but so another thing I thought was just really great was that you could choose your own skill set. So every character on every game, you have, it can be 100% different. So you can control, what your character wears, how he fights, what his fighting moves are. Here I've got on what's called a Time Patrol suit, which comes with a cape, and I've got on the GT Goku pants and the shoes, and you've got what things you can put on your wrists. And as I stated a little earlier, you've got the stuff that was made especially for custom characters, and you've got the clothes that come from characters in the Z universe.
Yeah, so one thing I've noticed about Xenoverse is they've kind of inverted the focus of the game compared to Budokai 3. So in Budokai 3, it was very local multiplayer 1v1 based, whereas this, they pay a lot more attention to the storyline, the single like player campaign, the online multiplayer. They definitely focus on that a lot more as compared to Budokai, obviously.
Yeah, and you can see that here in Togi Togi City, which is where you're placed in the game, because you've got all this customizable stuff, and we just passed the area for the online matches and the offline matches, and you can see the differences in the places that you're given here. Excuse me, simply because it's based on. So you've got the ability to customize everything so that you can differ from the other players that you're going to see in the online portion of the game. So, like you see here, there's the clothing shop, and you can buy all different types of clothes. You can wear what King Kai wore, which I've only seen a couple people wear that, simply because I guess it looks a bit odd to fight in, but it's completely customizable, so you can wear whatever it is you want to wear. And then you've got the accessory shop, and those are things like your scouters, like the sword you see on my back. You can get the halo, things like that. But one of the cooler things I thought about Xenoverse was that you can mix items and create your own things. So Z souls are something that you use in this game, which allow you to, change attributes of your character in battle based upon certain stipulations. So, like, for instance, they can depend upon what moves you use, or what characters what moves you use. Sorry, I got a little tongue-tied there. And that could, determine where and when, the Z-Souls help you. And you also have the ability to mix capsule items. And, if you know anything about the Dragon Ball universe, you know that capsules are a big deal here. So you've got capsules that can increase your health, your aura, your stamina, your ki, upgrade your speed, lower your speed, help you if you've been poisoned by an evil character, and things like that. So, I thought it was really intuitive that they allowed items into the game, simply because that kind of changed things up a little bit, made the game a bit more difficult, because you have 4 item slots, and you got to pick what's important to you and what can help you defeat the evil that has plagued the Z universe in the areas of time. So here we go on another parallel quest, searching through enemies, I guess just to demonstrate more of one of the bigger parts of the game. So we can talk about more gameplay here. So as I mentioned earlier, there can be up to 8 characters on a map at a time. But that really only applies here to the parallel quests, because in the multiplayer, I think there can be up to 6, 3-on-3. But here, in the parallel quests, there can be up to 5, which is, we won't see it here, but there's up to 5, 5 on your team, 3 on the other, which totals 8. Woohoo, math. And in parallel quests, you have the ability to use you can pick 2 characters, and then you can pick up to 2 extra characters. You've got the fighter that you selected, and then there can be up to 2 characters given to you by the computer based upon the parallel quest that you decided to embark upon, and then up to 3 enemies on the map at a time. Excuse me. So one thing that I thought was really cool that they brought into the game was the fact that you've got a mentor, and what the mentor is just a person that person from the game, or from the Z universe, who you have as a tutor, and that person is the one that comments after each of the parallel quests that you complete or don't complete. That's why you've been hearing Goku's voice at the end of the parallel quests that I've done. And you get a grade, and they'll make a comment based upon the grade. Like, for instance, for whatever reason, Goku sounds a little disappointed when you get an A on one, whereas you can get up to a Z, and he comments on those too. And what you see here is I'm using the Super Kamehameha Wave, which is the move, the most famous move in the Dragon Ball universe. and every time I use it, or not every time, but sometimes I use it, and a big blue Z swipes across the screen, demonstrating that Goku, I guess, is kind of helping me do the move, which I thought was really intuitive because it kind of plays on the whole father-son Kamehameha wave thing from the Cell game series. And when you get a Z assist, it makes the move stronger, and you've got the little ghost of Goku popping up behind you. And I don't know, I just think it was really aesthetically pleasing, and it was a good idea on part of the game creators. So one thing that I guess I failed to mention, but you saw here, was I was fighting another time patroller. And the time patrollers are what you call the people who are going back in time and fixing everything. So, I thought it was really cool that they incorporated other people's time patrollers into your game. And they call that a time patroller in training. So basically you just, after you beat the game, and I even think it's during, it's even before you've completed the story mode, you fight these other time patrollers, which are other players characters from online, and they're just coming as NPCs. They're not actually controlling them, but you're fighting them regardless. And if you beat them, you have a chance to get a Dragon Ball. And you collect 7, you get to make a wish, yada yada yada. So another really nice thing I thought, important to the little things, hashtag, was the dialogue in this game. Characters are interacting with other characters in the middle of the fight based upon who they're locking onto. And they show up in the bottom left-hand corner with the character's face. Sometimes the dialogue doesn't match what they actually said, which is, a minor programming issue that I'm sure will be addressed at a later point in time. But, again, hashtag little things. So I'm sure they will work on that in the unconfirmed Xenoverse 2. So I guess, in conclusion, I think it's a great game. That would be why I've logged more hours than I'm willing to admit onto it. Your thoughts, Brent?
Yeah, I think Xenoverse was an excellent addition to the kind of DBZ fighter franchise. Overall, the mechanics are very fluid. Looks like it has a really robust story mode, pretty good online. I wish they had paid a little more attention to detail on some of the kind of local multiplayer things, like you can't fight with 2 custom characters at the same time, stuff like that. But overall, I think it was a great game. Definitely would recommend the purchase.
Yeah. And I guess to the credit of the creators of the game, this will be the first game in my, in my experience with games that have it. This will be my first game where I'll be purchasing the DLC content, simply because the DLC is going to give you more. It's going to give you more quests, or more parallel quests. There are slight additions to the story mode. There are other characters added in, like I think, for instance, the 3rd DLC, which is either out now or soon will be. You have access to some of the major Dragon Ball GT characters, like GT Kid Goku, his granddaughter Pan, GT Trunks, and other characters like that. And I think the next one is going to have the Fire and Ice Shenrons as well. So again, overall, I thought it was a really great game. I'm going to continue playing it, I guess, to the detriment of my schoolwork. But I guess the major thing I had an issue with in this game was a lot of the items and materials and things that you pick up were based upon it was all based upon randoms. So like the Dragon Ball that I picked up from the Time Patroller was actually, you witnessed me being extremely lucky. Not long ago, I went on a quest to get the 7 Dragon Balls to unlock Gogeta, the red-haired character you see here, and I fought maybe 20, 30 Time Patrollers before one even dropped, and then there are other items that I'd like to collect that operate on random generators. And I mean, obviously, you want to keep the game interesting. You don't want players to do a thing one time and it work I mean, I imagine that makes the game boring, and it being random makes you have to play the game more often. But I feel like the randoms were a bit, I guess, too skewed from one side or on one side than another, and it wasn't the one that I guess wanted as a player. But I guess it obviously wasn't that big of a deal because I kept playing and playing and playing and playing. So I guess in conclusion, like Brent said, a great addition to the Dragon Ball Z Fighter series. I would highly recommend it to fans of the show, series, franchise, whatever you prefer to call it. Thought it was a really intrinsic game. The custom character thing I thought was phenomenal. It's definitely something I'm going to continue playing. And if there's a second one, there's no doubt that I'm going to purchase the game. And I'm sure Brent's going to come visit a few more times in the near future so he can get I guess he can train Freaks because he's not quite the same Kronos is, but maybe with a little training and Kronos as his mentor, I'm sure he can get there.
Very funny.
I'd like to think so, yeah. All right, well, thank you for your time, and